in the room right now, I have somebody special. All right, Shirah Dedman. All right, you are a videographer. I don't even know. I just met you at the Van Jones event in Hunters Point, right?
You didn't know because I knew you, but you didn't know.
Wait, let's see. I think I got you on the wrong mic.
Oops. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
I knew you. You didn't know me. I mean, I guess I knew of you because I had gone to a Hip Hop for Change event that was phenomenal.
Which
it was
one was
mind blowing.
Which one was that?
It was the one. It was basically about our food systems and decolonizing our food systems because, we can't talk about justice if we can't feed ourselves. And I think Angela Davis said something like that. Like, don't talk to me about freedom if you're not talking to me about like food.
Yeah. Real talk.
So, and I know I probably bastardized what she said, but she'll forgive me because she understands the point. But to go to what you were saying, I recently read a letter. So, a first year law student wrote wrote a letter on behalf of, I guess, a group of first year law students. And I particularly found this important. My friend sent it to me because I myself went to law school, and so I know how oppressive that can be, being in rooms where there aren't that many of you, and knowing that the law itself is the narrative of white people, and not only white people, because not all white people are created equal, but white people who think they're white people and white people who have decided to be oppressors.
Yes.
So anyway, they wrote it to a law professor who was wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt and decided to tell him that it was racist and isolating. Yeah, right? Yeah. And I loved his response. And that response was, there is no invisible only in front of Black Lives Matter. Yeah. So the fact, that's your problem if you want to read this invisible only into that. Nobody's saying only Black Lives Matter. People said Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And that there's nothing exclusionary about that. It doesn't mean they didn't say only Black Lives Matter. We don't care about Chicano lives or indigenous lives or white lives or anything. I love that. I was like, yes, thank you.
Right. And I think it's so telling. I mean, just the fact that people ain't mad at blue lives mattering.
Yeah, exactly.
They're mad at Black lives mattering.
Yeah. So you don't read the only there.
Yeah.
Again, that tells me about yourself more than anything.
Yeah, and I studied psychology in college, and that is classical projection.
Exactly.
All right?
That's exactly right.
Now, when you project some stuff that you ain't dealt with yet,
exactly.
And you're throwing racism, because guess what? For somebody who is steeped in racism, they're going to see racism. They're going to look at somebody's actions and say, well, that must be for some racist reasons because my actions are for some racist reasons. So our affirmations of beauty get taken as aggression towards them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm standing in front of the Mission Police Station. I went to the protest on Thursday in Oakland.
I was there too.
Yeah, I had an F the police sign, right? And we could talk about the validity of that or not. But I walked into the crowd, and all these people start looking at my sign as if it was a joke. Yeah, F the police, yeah. And I just wasn't feeling it. This is the first protest where I wasn't feeling. So I took my butt to San Francisco. And I was going to the Mr. Lift show. Shout out Mr. Lift. I know y'all heard him last week on the radio. He's the ace. But yeah, the first couple of acts, I was so distraught in my mind that I didn't even want to go inside. I literally stood by myself with my F the police sign across the street from the elbow room in front of the police station. And I had people literally walking up to me telling me I wasn't doing the right thing and that I shouldn't say F the police. Somebody told me, that's old news. I'm like, dude, people are getting shot today. That's old news. And why are you doing this? Well, I just want to have my voice heard, I told this white lady. And she literally 2 sentences later, she's like, well, you're just out here trying to make white people mad. And I said, no, boo-boo. I told you what I was out here to do. Did you remember what I said? And she didn't. And I told her once again, I said, I just want to have my voice be heard.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are throwing racism at black folks for struggle.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, obviously, I'm one of those people. I don't want people to say "Fuck the police." I'll be real. But, sorry. I don't. Am I talking too loud? Oh, sorry. No. I don't want to hear that, but I definitely want to say the police systems.
Okay, the police systems are real horrible. And, I mean, we got to dismantle all this aggression because real talk, I mean, this system is not broken. It's not flawed. It's working exactly the way it is supposed to happen. It's working exactly the way it's supposed to work. And it's built like that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's why you can be whatever color you are. And as soon as you become blue,
Yeah.
That's why blue becomes the strongest color, because that culture in and of itself needs to be destroyed. It takes over everything. It takes over your common sense.
Of course. And, real talk, blue is a choice. You choose to be a cop and you choose to be part of oppressive system. I can't wake up and be like, I want to be white today. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's who I am, and I have to affirm that beauty.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, there are some people who wake up and say, I want to be white today.
Rachel Dolezal did not say that.
No, she said I want to be black. But we all have our ancestors who have passed, and they woke up and said, I want to be white. So again, I think I agree with you. Like, in a sense, that's the point of so many movements, is saying that everything is a choice. And again, that right now, that shows you that the choice of blue is a very destructive. It's a very destructive choice. Yeah.
So let's get the people up on why you're even here.
Because again, I went to the Hip Hop for Change event. I was actually there to film a woman who is an urban farmer, and really.
Wanda Stewart?
Yeah, Wanda Stewart.
Yeah, shout out Wanda Stewart.
Yeah, Wanda Stewart. Love her. She's so smart. And we were filming her for a movie a documentary that we're shooting, and we being Liberated Lens Film Collective. Mm-hmm. And we're all working together to get this film out about the food movement within the East Bay's Black community, and the struggles in that food movement, and food justice movement.
Wanda Stewart runs Obsidian Farms, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Obsidian Farms. That's out of Berkeley. Wonderful woman. I got to meet her chickens. And the film is called Seeds of Struggle. You can find us on Facebook, at Seeds of Struggle, on Twitter at Seeds of Struggle. And the point of it is that it's really important in this movement, in all movements, to start seeing our face be the faces of these movements, right?
Yeah.
So right now, like when it comes up to food, and let's say, and it doesn't just have to be organic. I hate when they, but just all healthy food and access to that, and when you think about the original farmers, Black people. Right. And even our current farmers, Latinos, and yet somehow the face of it, the people who get to control the narrative are white people.
And it's like some white dude on a cream corn can, like smiling, all blonde,
yeah, exactly,
and strong.
And even with permaculture, the whole permaculture movement of sustainability and changing our farming habits to be sustainable, because corporate mass farming is killing our land, it's killing our earth. Again, the face of that, the people who have been out there are white people, and I'm glad for their work.
But
for real. Part of the idea of permaculture is that you are saying that our land needs diversity. How we farm, there has to be biodiversity. And so much of it is about diversity, yet they forget that other part of culture.
Yeah.
And that is culture, like sociological person culture. And I think that's why POC permaculturalists are standing up and just saying like, whoa, like you guys are forgetting the other part of that formula.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and obviously we're the only ones who see it, are cognizant of it, and we're the ones that are having to stand up for that part of it.
Yeah, it's like kind of when Matt Damon told Effie Brown.
Oh my God!
He was like, we need to only have diversity in front of the camera, not behind it. Come on, homie.
Because he knows the truth, right? Behind the camera is really the decision makers.
Yeah,
they're really the people.
And it's like, all the writers on Orange Is the New Black. There's no black artists.
Yeah,
there.
I call it blackface.
It is.
That's what I call
it is. Yes, it's a minstrel show.
It is.
But I'll tell you this. I mean, I think like for example, Tom's shoes. They give a shoe to Africans and stuff like that. Africans don't want free shoes. We want shoe companies. We want self-determination. And Tom's is like, he's like, I want to give shoes to people for the rest of my life.
Yeah. How about you go there and teach them how to make a shoe?
I mean, just think about that. He wants the world to be in a position for the rest of his life, he can give shoes to people. So
not even give shoes to people, give shoes to Africans.
I want to give shoes to people for the rest of my life, and he doesn't realize that what he's speaking to is to perpetuate a need for people to need free shoes, so he can give them away his whole life. Like, I don't know if that's what he's consciously thinking, but homie, your dream of being nice and philanthropic is based in paternalism, and maybe you don't know that.
That's deep, because I guess I don't really ever think of Tom's either. I'm just highly cynical of all quote-unquote social impact things, where people tie in their profit into this quote-unquote idea of social impact, because I believe having a capitalist profit-driven society is basically you always have to have the person that is going without.
Yeah.
So again, never really thought about Tom's, but you're so on it.
All right. I heard that. I saw a documentary on Netflix that's streaming right now called Profit Inc. It's about how nonprofits are basically destroying places, and aid is just becoming the next type of colonialism where the money is going to promote aid instead of actually helping people.
I actually talked to the filmmaker on totally something separate, but he was so awesome in terms of giving information. And I say this because I reached out to a couple of POC filmmakers asking for information. And this guy who is not POC, he's white, was more than ready to actually talk to me. So I think that's kind of important to know that when you have people who are looking at this, that they aren't just kind of like self-serving, kind of like slap on your back progressives, that they're actually really trying to think progressively.
Yeah, and it's really important. I mean, a lot of people tell me, they're like, man, I can't even understand how you talk to these white people for so long. I'm like, well, number one, it's sharpening my own sword, right? And it's also what I'm really good at, and I brought a lot of people over to our side, you know what I'm saying, to the dark side, I like to call it, because dark is beautiful.
Hell yeah.
But I'll tell you this, it's like if you can bear the burden. I don't want to live on an island with only black folks, although that would be a cracking party. It would be a cracking party. Yeah, it'd be cracking over there. We had drums and all that. But I've learned a lot from white folks. I have a soft spot in my heart for white folks that my friend told me was a white supremacist nugget, by the way. She's mad at people, right? But so I'm on Hay Street yesterday moving my CDs, and I'm like talking to these two real cool white dudes. And I'm in mid-conversation with them when this young black kid who was angry and pissed walks up. He's like, yo, F these guys. They don't care about you. They ain't going to feel you. And then he stops and walks up in one of their faces like, bro, I'll knock you out right now. Yeah, and then he starts backing up, talking stuff, but they ain't going to feel you. White people don't care about us. And these two white dudes were mortified, right? Like they were deer in headlights. And I was kind of almost deer in headlights too, because I'm like, I feel homie. We're mad. We're livid. And, not everybody can really handle this right now. Ourselves included, we were just talking about. But, I stopped this guy. He started to get mad. I said, no, you can't be mad at that. You have to understand that this young kid has probably been brutalized by police's life like I have. He's mad. And not everybody in a community that's oppressed is going to be able to handle this stuff, and he can't. So even if you do have to defend yourself and knock him out, you should do it, with some empathy, knowing what
do it out of love.
No, this is a traumatized black man, and it was a great conversation. He gave me $100 for my CD. Anyway, I think those who have the emotional tact and the eloquence to speak to these issues, like we need all the white folks we can get on our side.
I mean, if we want to talk about like the Black Panthers, right?
The White Panthers?
Exactly. The Black Panthers knew, and actually I think that's what, even when they became more of a target, is when you're divisive, they're like, okay, cool, you're going to stick to your own people, stick to that, that kind of rhetoric, cool, we still control you. But when you start to bridge those gaps and reach out and say, you know what, you guys, like, open your eyes. We're all like, how do you say this? Like, we are all slaves to some sort of system. Now, the black people are on the bottom of that, and we've always been on the bottom of that. But so what we have to start basically once the Black Panthers realize that and just start saying, you know what, we got our white allies, we got our red allies, we got our Latino allies. To me, frankly, that's when the government said they got to go.
Yeah, well, I think, I'll tell you this. When you see, like 12 black people in front of, Sacramento Capitol with guns, like, that's how they got so big anyway. But, the White Panthers, I read about them. They had they adopted the same 10-point plan. They were like radical punk cats who,
that's funny.
they knew that they had that white privilege. So what they were able to do is be a lot more militant.
Wow.
And actually, they did a lot of attacking.
Wow,
as
that's
well.
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Read this.
I just got schooled. I like that.
White Panthers, y'all. I think there was gray Panthers too. It's like OGs.
Yeah, I know that there were red Panthers.
Red Panther. I heard that. Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. Let's play some music real quick because I know. I mean, we've been talking about blackness for like 2.5 hours. I love it. I love it, y'all.
Day.
Donate to us. All right. This is CA, the corner, corruption across the map, y'all.